DeMeco Ryans does something very interesting. Is it unnecessary? Is it just part of what makes him great? Could it be a result of the pipeline plus some interesting drama in Tennessee that deserves our attention? Let's go inside the locker room.
We the source, we the post to the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on you.
The Texans' current state would not have been possible had they not hired DeMeco Ryans. All of the momentum, all of the happiness, the joy you see with the fan base was made possible because of DeMeco Ryans. And DeMeco Ryans could have easily last year been the coach of the year in the NFL. And despite the fact that the buzz is high, despite the fact that the Texans are a dark horse to do the unthinkable, DeMeco Ryans is still a relatively young coach, and he is far from a finished product. He's a very, very young head coach, and we're starting to kind of pick up on some of DeMeco Ryans' tendencies. I found this interesting yesterday. I know different media types, different fans have thoughts on this. I don't think it's like something significant or massive, but I do find it relatively interesting that DeMeco Ryans does not like to let people know who's going to play in the preseason. This was the end of DeMeco Ryans' media availability yesterday when asked by Jonathan Alexander of the Houston Chronicle who was going to play. I guess, DeMeco, you could probably say went a little bit hardo.
Guys will play, so does that mean like guys like Kamari will play?
You guys will all see who play on Thursday. I'm not going through a list of who's playing, who's not playing. I'm not going through that list. You guys will see on Thursday who steps out there. All right, see you guys.
All right, there you go. So then you had the walk-off, and that's about as intense as you see DeMeco get. Now, in the regular season, it makes sense. You understand because you don't want to give the other team a competitive advantage. In preseason, why does DeMeco do this? I think there's an answer that might kind of add to the greatness that is DeMeco Ryans. But first, I want to eliminate one possibility for that. It's not a pipeline thing. We've seen coaches leave New England and they do everything that Bill Belichick does. And sometimes, as irrational and silly as it is, they still put that to practice. It is not a pipeline thing because Robert Saleh, who comes from the same place that DeMeco Ryans came from, yesterday he was asked about Aaron Rodgers and whether or not he's going to play in the preseason. And this is what Robert Saleh had to say.
Going back to Aaron, would he play any preseason snaps?
We haven't really talked about it. My instinct right now as I stand here is we'll see.
Your instinct is we'll see.
My instinct is no, but
That's where you going,
but I want to leave it open that that third game is the one where we're deciding. So he definitely won't play the first two, but the discussion on the third one we just haven't quite had yet.
So there you go, and that's Robert Saleh. Little bit of a different philosophy than DeMeco. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. Quite frankly, DeMeco has had more success, but we can eliminate that it's some sort of Shanahan pipeline type of thing. So why does DeMeco do this? I think the answer is pretty simple. I think DeMeco Ryans, there's a lot of coaches around the league that say and they ask their players, hey, we want you to practice as if it's a game. We want you to treat this preseason game as if it's a game. And let's be honest, if you're someone who has the status of a top tier starter or someone who's going to make the roster, it might be hard to treat a preseason game like a regular season game. And when you're a coach and you're saying that and you're not practicing what you preach, I'm not saying it's the end all be all and you completely lose credibility in the locker room, but you're not necessarily doing what you're asking of your players. And I think every time DeMeco Ryans, just based on watching him and just based on talking to people who played with him, talking to players who played with him, and just kind of observing, I think every time he steps on the football field, he has the same mindset, whether it's a playoff game, whether it's a preseason game. He's just as into it. So I've heard some media types, I've heard some fans say, why the hell does he care who plays in the preseason? I think it's simple. I think DeMeco Ryans is cut from the cloth that every time he steps on the field, he's going to have the same mindset. So I think that's why DeMeco Ryans is treating preseason, at least at the podium, like he would regular season or playoffs at the podium. I think the answer is quite simple. It's damn sure not a pipeline thing. I think that's the answer to the question, why does DeMeco do this? Next question, who needs to play most in the preseason? I think we need to see the backup running backs. We need to see what they got. They need to address their running back depth. I think we need to see the interior D linemen, although I think DeMeco likes them a little bit more than people may believe. And then I think we need to see the safeties. I think we need to see what Eric Murray, Jalen Petrie, how they're going to maneuver that and handle the nickelback situation. I think other than that, there's a lot of positions that are pretty much filled. We also need to see the kickoff and how they're going to approach that. I do wonder if we get to a point where it's just kick it out of the end zone and give the other team the ball at the 30 and call it a day. We will see. But that's DeMeco Ryans. He's refusing to say who will play in the preseason. I think the answer as to why is quite simple. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, we got some drama, some media-type player drama. One of the best players in the AFC South, Jeffrey Simmons, one of the best radio hosts in Tennessee. Buck Rising. Yesterday, Buck Rising on 104.5 The Zone, they were about to do an interview, and apparently he sent out a tweet saying Jeffrey Simmons needed to get his ish together. Here was what the whole drama looked like on the air, on the web stream on 104.5 The Zone.
Well, Jeff, you want to sit down? We can talk whenever you want to talk. Jeff, we'll deal with that later. Roger McCreary sitting down with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Jeff, I mean, we're on the air right now. I'm right here, Jeff. We can talk anytime you want to. Unbelievable.
We got to make that happen.
Well, we'll deal with that later on. Roger McCreary sitting down with us here on 104.5 The Zone. Jeff, if you want to sit down and talk about this, we can talk about this. I'm talking to you right here. Jeff, we tried to talk to you last week. I'm being rude to Roger. We'll deal with you later. Roger, what's going on?
It's good. Doing good out here. I'm doing good.
How was the day of practice? First padded.
So my whole thing is this, and I don't think either one of these guys have to be wrong. The reality is when you turn on a mic and you speak, I think there should be a certain level of integrity to where you're not jock sniffing. You're providing a service to the fans, and you're speaking about football. Now, there's no doubt that 99.999% of the guys like myself who talk about this, who live this, who cover this, can't do what a guy like a Jeffrey Simmons does. And there's different approaches. I think the jock sniffing approach is wrong. And I do find it amusing that when stuff like this happens in the world that we live in, there's like an instinct to where guys who played high school ball or something like that got to go talk down on Buck Rising, who follows this team, knows this team, probably knows football more than 99% of these guys, regardless of how far they went in high school or college. Yet they want to just naturally say that Jeffrey Simmons was in the right. Then there's a portion of media types that want to say Buck Rising was 100% in the right, and they want to rush to his defense. Why can't both guys be right? Both guys have a job to do. Buck Rising, he's a critical guy. He's a credible guy, and he knows the consequences that sometimes players are going to see what he says, and he's going to have to either defend it or whatever. It happens to anyone that is in this business long enough, unless you just get a thrill out of being buddies with the athletes and naturally jock sniffing. I have no problem with this. I think they both handled this perfect. I think Buck Rising stood his ground. I think Jeffrey Simmons, if he was upset with something that Buck Rising said, then I think he stood his ground. So I think this was just perfection. And here is Jeffrey Simmons talking about it with Paul Kaharski after the Titans practice.
I just said that's not me. We're going to move forward from that. I'm ready to focus on football. I just want to win. Like I said, I'm not with all the social media stuff. I got a text message even from a PR lady, just even delete social media while I'm in camp. Because like I said, I don't want to get the text message. Told my family, don't send it to me no more. None of that. But like I said, I'm not angry at you guys. I don't have nothing against you guys. You guys have a job. I have a job. We know you guys going to critique us. I mean, we're not going to like it. And like I told earlier, we also have a right to speak our opinion as well, just like you guys. So I'm not angry with no one. Like I said, some of the stuff I just don't like with some of the stuff he said. That's my opinion. So like I said, I'm just ready to move on from that. Like I said, yesterday is unacceptable. And we came back to practice today. Had a great day.
There you go. And I think that's a hand clap for Jeffrey Simmons, one of the best players in this division. You know, I'm a Jeffrey Simmons guy. I respect what Buck Rising does, and I respect the opinions. I respect the insight. I respect what he puts into the gig. Those guys talked, they talked it out. There doesn't always have to be like, usually there's a winner and a loser when it comes to what happens on the field. Off the field, players can feel how they want to feel. Media types can feel how they want to feel. And there doesn't have to be like some arm raised in the air where Buck Rising is in the wrong or Jeffrey Simmons is in the wrong. The consequences come with words. And sometimes it's if you're going to maintain credibility and you're going to do your job and you're going to break stuff down and you're going to give opinions, sometimes players aren't going to like it. Win-win situation with one of the best media types in the division and one of the best players in the division. I don't know why there's like such a rush to try to declare a winner. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. Texans got a game tomorrow, which means we got a post-game stream. Be sure to come through and enjoy that. We're always pretty deep in those chats. We roll very, very deep. Thousands last year at the end of the season. DeMeco Ryans, he ain't going to tell you who's playing in the preseason. And it's easy to understand why. Jeffrey Simmons, he's ticked off at Buck Rising. Buck Rising standing his ground, and both of those guys are in the right. A lot going on. We're a month and change away from the season, and no matter what happens when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for rolling through the Locker Room.
We got taste for days, opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker Room, yeah, we in the locker.